You hit your biggest goal, achieved your wildest dream. You put in the hours, the hard work, and then you woke up and felt nothing, just flat. Like someone turned the collar down on your life. So you do what every high achiever does. You push harder, set a new goal, bigger goal, wildest dream, because surely that one will finally make you feel something, that thing you're chasing. But here's the truth, it won't. And this is because your dopamine receptor did something completely logical, giving everything you put them through. They hid. Today, we're going into the neuroscience of why pushing harder when you feel flat is the biological equivalent of screaming at someone wearing earplugs. And we will go over what your brain actually needs to fix this so you can feel joy at every achievement again. If we haven't met before, I'm Myriam. I'm a scientist, and the people closest to me would describe me as a high achiever and extremely perseverant, the kind of person who never stops. And for a long time, I wore that as a badge. I was the person who could handle it, who thrived under pressure, who kept going when other people tapped out, until I noticed something in me, and I couldn't explain it. The motivation that used to come naturally was gone. The joy I used to get from work I loved faded every day. And my body was starting to send signals I couldn't ignore anymore. A slow, steady dimming of everything. I lost the color of my life. I didn't connect those things at first. I just tried harder, chased the bigger dream, the bigger goal, etc. Which, as I would eventually learn, was the exact opposite of what I should have done. When I finally started looking at what this is actually doing to my brain reward architecture, everything clicked. I wasn't losing my drive. My brain just started protecting itself from me. Dopamine is not your pleasure chemical. That's serotonin job. Dopamine is your anticipation chemical, your drive chemical. It fires in the wanting, not the having. Think about the last time you checked your phone and felt that little pull before you even looked at the screen. That was dopamine. Not the notification, the anticipation of the notification. Your brain doesn't care what's there. It just really likes the chase, which means every time you check your email, scroll for inspiration, or jump to the next task before finishing the last one, you're not getting a reward. You're feeding a seeking loop. And this distinction matters a lot for what happens next. Let me give you an example before I explain this mechanism. You've been working towards something for months, a promotion, a launch, a goal that felt enormous when you set it. And the day it happened, you felt a brief hit of satisfaction, maybe for a few hours or maybe even for a few minutes. And then almost immediately, your brain is asking, okay, what's next? The win that was supposed to change everything barely registered, and you're already chasing the next goal. Here's the mechanism. I want you to picture an actual seesaw. On one side, pleasure, drive, motivation. On the other side, pain, flatness, and disengagement. Your brain's entire job is to keep the seesaw leveled. Every time dopamine spikes on the pleasure side, your brain immediately adds weight to the pain side to bring it back to balance. Not back to neutral, slightly past below your balance. One spike is fine. You recover quickly and the seesaw rebalances. But when you're constantly spiking back-to-back wins, you barely register notification, deadline, urgency loop, scrolling. That baseline starts drifting downward. Slowly until one day the seesaw is sitting permanently tilted towards the flat. You can't remember the last time you felt true joy. And that is not a mood disorder. That's just your brain maintaining balance at all costs. This model was documented by Dr. Anna Lembke, a Stanford psychiatrist who spent years researching the neuroscience of pleasure and pain. Her book, Dopamine Nations, goes deeper into this if you want to follow the science even further. Quick pause. Based on my analytic, the majority of you watching here aren't subscribed. If you want more of this, take a second to subscribe, and thank you so much. So what happens when the spiking doesn't stop? Your brain does something very logical and very inconvenient. It starts reducing the sensitivity of the dopamine receptors by reducing the responsiveness, turning down the volume on the signals so the system doesn't get overwhelmed. The result? Wins that used to feel meaningful stop registering. Milestones you worked months for feel like nothing. You need more input to feel the same output. So you chase harder, spike more, and the receptors pulls back even further. It's a true trap. This is why hustling harder when you feel flat doesn't work. You are literally trying to hear music through a speaker your brain had turned down to protect itself. And thankfully, this is reversible. The receptor sensitivity recovers and your baseline can be restored. There is one more layer here to consider. When you're always on, always producing, always responding, always in reactive mode, your sympathetic nervous system stays dominant. Your body is running a low-grade stress response essentially around the clock. And chronically elevated cortisol doesn't just exhaust you physically. It actively blocks access to one of the brain's most valuable operating system called the default mode network, the DMN. The DMN activates when you're not doing anything in particular. When you're resting, daydreaming, letting your mind wander. And neuroscience has consistently shown that this is where your most creative, most strategically ambitious, most genuinely original thinking happens. It's not the focused executive network grinding through a task list. It's the resting brain making unexpected connection, solving problems you didn't know you were solving, and generating the best ideas. The ideas I'm most proud of didn't come from a sprint or didn't come from me trying harder. They came from the shower, the walk, the half-awake moment before my alarm. That's where the inspiration lives. And that's simply the DMN doing its job. And if you're always on, it never gets to do it. And you never end up tapping into that treasure of inspiration and amazing ideas. What I'm going to say now is going to sound suspicious to every high achiever watching this. You need to rest more. Not because you deserve it. Not because you've earned it. Not because some wellness influencer told you to light up a candle and journal for feelings, but because your dopamine receptors are not going to regulate themselves while you're answering emails at 11 p.m. This is just not how your body works. This is what I call quiet ambition. And I want to be very clear about what this is, because the name can be misleading if you've spent any time in spaces that equate rest to giving up. Quiet ambition is not necessarily doing less. It is not lowering your standard. It's not deciding your goals don't matter anymore. It's protecting your biological condition that make your best work possible. It's treating your nervous system like the high-performance system it actually is, which means building recovery is not a reward. It's a necessity. And set this as an expectation. You will never finish everything on your list. The list will never end. And recovery cannot wait until the end of your list. The most ambitious thing you can do for your success right now is to stop treating rest as the opposite of productivity and start treating it as the infrastructure underneath it. Your sympathetic nervous system was designed for sprints, not marathon. The people who sustain high performance over a lifetime are not the one who pushed the hardest. They're the one who understood when to stop and why stopping was the strategic move at that time. You don't have to choose between your ambition and your health. Your ambition depends on your health. And now you have the biology to prove it to the part of your brain that was going to argue with you about it. So now that you understand why your system is running flat, let's talk about what you can do about it. Step 1, reduce the noise. Remember the seek and loop we talked about. The way your brain fires dopamine in anticipation of a reward, even when there's nothing actually there. Every time you check your phone, refresh your inbox, or scroll out of habit, you are feeding that loop. Your brain is not looking for good news. It's looking for the possibility of a good news. That's the loop. So the first step is simple but hard to follow. Define 2 protected windows every day where high stimulation inputs are completely off. No social media, no emails, no news. I recommend the first 30 minutes of your morning before your brain has fully loaded and everything after 8 p.m. or before bedtime. Those 2 windows alone begin to reduce the baseline noise your receptors are constantly firing against. You are not restricting information. You are giving your receptors a window where they are not being asked to respond to anything. Step number 2, create intentional blank spaces. This one is the hardest for high achiever and also the most important. 10 to 20 minutes every day of intentional low stimulation, no podcast, no music, no multitasking, no productive walking where you're actually just thinking about your to-do list while moving your legs. Just nothing in particular. I can already hear the resistance. This feels like wasted time. It is not wasted time. It is the only reliable way to activate your DMN, the resting brain state where your most creative, most strategic thinking actually happens. You are not doing nothing. You are creating conditions for your best ideas to surface. Walking counts, sitting with coffee counts, staring out at a window absolutely counts. The requirement is simply that you are not consuming, producing, or optimizing anything during that window. Your brain has been waiting for this. It just needs you to stop filling every gap with noise long enough to use it. Step 3 is to have 1 deep win per day. This is where we talk about the difference between 2 kinds of dopamine. And this distinction is going to change how you structure your entire day. The first type of dopamine is phasic dopamine. It's the quick spike. The notification, the checkbox, the fast reply, it's immediate, it's addictive, and it degrades your baseline every time you chase it compulsively. The second one is tonic dopamine. It's the slow, steady neurochemical burn of sustained, meaningful effort. The kind that comes from working on something that actually matters to you for an uninterrupted stretch of time. It doesn't spike the same way. And that's exactly why it's more sustainable than the first one. It builds baseline sensitivity rather than eroding it. So every day, one deep win, one task that connects to a long-term goal, one thing that requires sustained focus rather than rapid switching. You protect that task the way you would protect meeting with someone you cannot reschedule. Everything else works around it. You are not doing less, you are doing the one thing that actually rebuilds your brain's ability to feel rewarded by your own work, which is the whole point of all this. So small inputs, real biology, that's the whole model here. What it requires is that you stop treating your nervous system like it runs on willpower and start treating it like it runs on biology, because it does. It always has. And you just now have the mechanism to work with it instead of against it. Here's what I want you to walk away with today. You are not failing. Your brain was doing the only thing it knew to do when you kept asking for more than it could sustain. It protected itself, and now you know how to work with that. If you're wondering how far your own baseline has already drifted, I built a free 2-minute quiz for that. It's called the Burnout Quiz. Link is below. It takes less than 2 minutes, and it will show you where your system actually is and what you can do about it. Don't forget to subscribe. Watch this one next, and I'll see you in the next one.